Greetings, Eric Bakker, the Naturopath. Thanks for coming back. And also a big shout out and thank you to people who subscribed in spite of no new videos coming up on this channel for about 2 months. And there's a good reason for that. Let me explain why that happened. I went to a party in April and I came home with an unwanted souvenir. I came home with COVID. I was so sick. I was sick for 6 weeks. I picked up now and I'm firing on all 8 cylinders, so I'm feeling great. And I haven't been sitting around drinking lots of cups of coffee and watching Netflix. What I've been doing, I've been working flat out on a gut health assessment. I've always been interested in quizzes and assessments with patients. I've assessed patients for nearly 40 years. But I spent a bit of time as I was recovering, and also since January, going through many different patient files, hundreds of patient files. I looked at several hundred stool tests, and I've interviewed quite a few ex-patients. And I came to the conclusion that there were 5 basic gut types: Candida dominance, SIBO dominance, irritable bowel syndrome dominance, leaky gut syndrome dominance, and gut microbiome depletion dominance. So what I did is I created a quiz that's only 47 questions. You can do it in 4 minutes. And it's built on advanced conditional logic, meaning you need to be careful how you input your answers. So they will very much determine the outcome. Now, I've run this test through about 50, 75 people, and the outcomes have been incredible. They've really helped people determine what type of gut dominant condition they have. So remember, this is built on 39 years of seeing a lot of people. This is not some silly Candida quiz with A, B, C, and you're going to have the same outcome. So this is very much determined on your input. If you're dealing with something like irritable bowel syndrome or bloating or constipation or fatigue or brain fog or sugar cravings, you've got a whole bunch of symptoms. I'd love you to go through this gut health assessment and input your questions to see what's going to come out of it. I think you're going to be quite surprised. And because I wanted to really make this worth your while, doing this gut health assessment, I've put together a really special offer. And it's only for people who go through that gut health assessment will actually see what this offer is. But it's my way of saying thank you for checking out my channel and for going through this quiz. So if you'd like a little bit more clarity in what's potentially going on inside your gut and you haven't got a clue what it is, please take the gut health assessment and give me your feedback. And you'll find a description in the link below to click straight through to the assessment, and you can do it yourself in less than 5 minutes. Takes about 40 seconds or so, and then you'll get your dominant page coming back. Remember, it could be Candida dominant, could be SIBO dominant, it could be IBS dominant, could be leaky gut dominant, or it could be gut microbiome depletion dominant. And guess what? It's great to be back. I missed all you guys out there. Now, let me just talk about the 5 gut types, okay? So we'll quickly go through these 5 potential outcomes that could occur depending on your input. Now remember, this was built on advanced conditional logic. I used Claude, I used ChatGPT, I've used all sorts of AI models to help me build this through all of my inputs. So it's taken some time to come out, obviously, with these 5 types. Let's talk about these 5 types now. The first one, of course, is gut type 1. I call it CDD, Candida dominant dysbiosis. So remember, dysbiosis just means gut not in great shape. People sometimes only associate dysbiosis with bacterial, but it's fungal as well. And the other thing I'd like to point out to you is that when a person says they have a Candida issue, it's not usually just a Candida issue. It often also means and includes that they've got low beneficial bacteria. And they've also got a higher amount of dysbiotic bacteria like Klebsiella, for example, or Citrobacter. So these bacteria are often up when Candida is up. So they're going to get a mixed pattern. But usually one of these dominant patterns will override and be the archetypal pattern that we're looking for. So of course, with the Candida, we're looking at things like strong sugar cravings and brain fog, itching in the body, recurring itching in the private areas, for example. These are all common. Bloating after sugary or refined foods. And of course, causes and triggers are things like sugar or sugary foods. Soda drinks, ice cream, candy, things like that. Antibiotic history is a classic. Hormonal disruption, chronic stress. The focus with the Candida dominant dysbiosis, of course, is a Candida type diet. But the main thing is we're looking at a whole foods and a fresh diet, right? Fresh foods. We also need gut lining support. We'll talk about that another time. So let's talk about condition number 2, and that's the fermentation-driven SIBO. This is bacterial dysbiosis now predominant. But remember, SIBO people can also have mixed patterns. They can also have an elevated Candida pattern. And this is what confuses a lot of practitioners, because they often just pigeonhole people into slots and say, we're going to treat you for SIBO, or we're going to treat you for that. I don't look at that with people. I just tend to treat the gut. And I look carefully at the patient to see where the problem areas are and support those problem areas. And the problem usually starts going away by itself. You can have a real problem when you start pigeonholing people. You've got to be careful. So what do we got with SIBO? Well, we got the bloating after meals. We've got the fermentation going on. So people with SIBO often go onto these FODMAPs type diets for that reason. They look out for certain types of foods like beans and legumes and things like that. So abdominal distension, excessive gas or belching or bloating, constipation, or the classic with bacterial dysbiosis, alternating bowel motions. And also extra bowel motions or not extra bowel motions, and having bowel motions at weird times of the day can also be very much SIBO related. Symptoms triggered by carbs, but not necessarily the carbs that we're looking at with Candida. With Candida, we're looking at the refined carbs more so than we are with SIBO. People often report this, my stomach looks pregnant after I've had a meal, you know, like some people really complain about that, the bloating and the pain especially. So causes and triggers, again, antibiotic history or a food poisoning history, something often caused this SIBO thing to happen. In many cases, I've seen it was medication related, especially things like antibiotic treatment when they got put on, you know, doxycycline or tetracycline or something like that. Recommended focus, reducing the fermentable foods, the FODMAPs foods. We haven't got time in this video to talk about FODMAPs, we'll do that on another occasion. Improving digestion, and like the Candida cases, I look at improving the stomach function, the pancreatic function, especially with stress, because so many people have got that today, and also the small bowel, the duodenum needs a lot of support when you've got SIBO. Let's talk about gut type number 3. This is the IBS, or the stress-driven problem that people have. So many gut symptoms, remember, are heavily influenced by the person's nervous system, by how they're feeling, by their emotional state. And with IBS patients, I very much look at their emotional state. I've seen so many IBS cases, and oftentimes these people are heavily influenced by some type of circumstance like job interview, relationship problem, financial problem. And I tend to look for bowel patterns that tend to be sort of messed up around these sort of situations. We tend to get that with IBS. Symptom clusters here typically include abdominal pain with stress, diarrhea before or during events or meetings, can also be urination problems I find sometimes with IBS, gut symptoms during anxiety, and especially when people start changing diets, they can develop a lot of these patterns when they've got IBS and they change a diet, they get anxious about that. Then they develop food reactions. So other clues for this IBS dominant pattern is we look at a high stress lifestyle, a highly anxiety person. I find people on the spectrum can be prone to this type of condition too. People with ADHD or the autistic patients can be very much so in the irritable bowel syndrome area. Hurried and worried, tension headaches, sore neck and shoulders, you know, all these kind of situations. So recommended focus here for IBS, nervous system regulation and support, sleep improvement and gentle gut repair. Oftentimes we have to work also on improving the lining of the small intestine, because I found a lot of people with IBS also tend to move into the what we're going to talk about now, the leaky gut area. So gut type 4 is leaky gut syndrome. This is the immune activation dominance. So this is when a person's lining of their small intestine, especially the beginning part, starts becoming more permeable to different types of antigens in food. They become highly reactive. All of a sudden that food's bad, they can't tolerate it anymore. I've seen people go through amazing situations where when they went on holidays, they could tolerate that food, but when they came back with the stress again, they couldn't tolerate that food. And again, we talked about IBS before, so you can see how the nervous system state can very much affect the leakiness of the gut as well. So typical symptom cluster here, food sensitivities or multiple food allergies. These are the people who react to foods, sometimes very violently. Not so much here in the mouth, orally on the skin, but more so in the gut. When you've had leaky gut long enough, the skin starts flaring up with food reactions. Eczema or skin inflammation, joint pain, fatigue after meals, and also autoimmune conditions. Many people with autoimmune conditions have had a long-term leaky gut, and it just went on and on for years, nothing was done about it, and they slid into autoimmunity. When the body starts attacking the joints or the mucous membranes or different organs. So usually the result of high stress and faulty way of living and eating for a prolonged period of time. Causes and triggers again, processed food diets, high stress lifestyles, anxiety, relationship problems. So recommended focus here, gut lining repair. Anti-inflammatory nutrition, so looking at a low inflammatory diet. The worst thing for these people is alcohol, for example, and too much caffeine. What about the last type, gut type number 5? Now we've got the gut microbiome depletion. So this is the people who are basically, right down the end path. They're feeling very sick, they're feeling very tired, emotionally fragile. They can have cognitive dysfunction, can't think clearly, like they're in a fog all the time. I've had a lot of Candida patients. People with Candida think that they've got, people with gut microbiome depletion, thinking they've got a Candida problem, when in fact they didn't have a yeast issue at all. They just had such low amounts of beneficial bacteria and a chronic low-grade inflammatory state going on. It was affecting multiple parts of their body. So symptom cluster here, poor digestion of fiber, lots of bowel problems, frequent infections, slow recovery from illness, and just not feeling good, feeling washed out real bad, just tired all the time, no energy. And of course, a history of multiple antibiotic courses or long-term medications. It could be steroids. These could be special medications used for autoimmune conditions, for example, can push a person into this depletion. So causes and triggers. If we look in this case, long-term medications, also long-term low vegetable and fruit intake. So they end up with a poor microbiome diversity. So not enough different types of bacteria to give them a powerful immune response. And they slide into this depleted state. And many people with the depletion, this category 5, have got adrenal fatigue. They're burnt out, they're tired. They've got hypothalamic problems, they've got pituitary problems. They've got sleeping problems. They've got a lot of problems. Recommended focus here, of course, is to slowly get the diet back up to speed, to repair the leaky gut, which nearly all of them have got, to get the beneficial bacteria back, and especially to start firing up that digestion again, getting the stomach and pancreas and the digestive organs working good. It's like taking your car to a mechanic that hadn't been serviced for 10 years. New spark plugs, new oil. You take it out the shop, it's like a brand new car. The same thing happens here. I tend to work with a lot of gut microbiome depleted patients. I've worked with thousands of them. And I tell them it takes 12 months. And that's the end of the road. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'm so glad to be back on YouTube again. It's great to be back, and I missed everybody out there. You're going to see a lot more of me because I've got time in my hands now and I'm feeling good. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to click the link in the description down below to do your gut health assessment. And remember, that special is only on for people who go through their gut health assessment. It's not available on my website or anywhere else. So give me your feedback, do the assessment, and share with me and maybe other people if you like exactly what's going on and what you thought about it. Catch you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.